At this time, we're going to make this Santa Claus. It is going to be a lot of gluing and cutting. First, we're going to do the patterns, but this is going to be about what our finished product is going to look like. Okay, first, very carefully, put down your placemat so that you don't glue your project to your mom and dad's table. I usually leave my glue on the side so that it will come out easier. If you stand it on end, then it takes longer to get it to come out. Okay. First thing I'm going to do is take out just the paper pattern. Now there's some little googly eyes in here and a couple of other small parts, and we don't want those falling out yet, so keep everything else in. First thing I'm going to do is cut out these patterns. Just stay right on the lines, take your time, and do them as carefully as you can, especially the small pieces. And these little pieces cut around the outside of the black, they're going to be your pattern for the eyebrows that you can see up there just above his eyes. To cut these out, it's going to be easier for me if I just quickly snip the pieces off like this, being careful not to cut into either of them. So I go in between. And then okay, so now I've got them in several pieces. Now it's going to be easier for me to go ahead and start cutting them on the lines. And remember, this is just your pattern, so you don't have to cut them inside the lines. You're not worried about whether or not you leave any black or not. So I would try to run it just on the outside edge, just like that. And if you'll turn it with one hand while you're gently squeezing with the other, it'll keep you from getting as choppy a lines as you cut. Then we just continue cutting. And go ahead and cut out all of your pieces. So hopefully everybody has their parts all cut out. I've got mine all right here in a neat little stack. And I'm going to start working on them one piece at a time. And I'm just going to mark them first, and then I'll cut them out all at once. Again, this is a reminder of what our goal is. Before we're finished, I want you to notice on this one, this is where it was outlined and we put it to the back side. If you put that on the front, it doesn't look very good, so you want to make sure that that goes to the back before you're finished. And I've got a freshly sharpened pencil. You can use pencil, pen. Just don't push very hard as you're doing this. So I'm going to pull my parts out and try to leave the little fluff ball and the googly eyes inside the bag so that I don't lose them. Oh, okay, I think I've got some extra parts, but this is what I need for this project. Okay, either in your little baggie or in the big bag. I'm not sure if I got these in the little baggies or not, but you need one of these ribbons, and it might just be loose in the big bag. And first thing we're going to do is the beard. This is actually going to be done by tracing your fingers. Now, a common mistake is to do it real narrow so that it looks like icicles instead of a beard. So be real careful with that. I'm going to put my hand down. What I found, originally I was trying to do it with thumb and all four fingers, and that doesn't look as good as if you just draw or trace around your four fingers. Spread them out across a little bit, the material, so that you're using more of it. So I'm going to put, my hands are a little bit big for this, I'm going to put my finger down towards the end of it, and then you can draw the rest of your hand around that. So go ahead and do that. I'm just going to trace. Again, spread your fingers out a little bit and make it bigger rather than narrower. So 20 years from now, when you pull this ornament out of the box, you'll be able to see how big or little your hands were at the time. So this is what I have. You can see that I kept them a little bit bigger rather than smaller. Now your hands are probably smaller, so it's not going to take up the whole material like mine did. And next, the brown or tan color that you have is going to be for the face. So that's going to be the oval shape. So right now, get the one that looks like an oval. Almost like a speech bubble if you were writing something or making a cartoon drawing with this stuff. Okay. So put it down on there and trace it out. You can either center it or go to one edge so that you have a little more. I don't believe we need to reuse this color of foam for anything else. Some of it we might. Okay, so when you trace this, make sure you're holding down solid with one hand, and you'll want to keep a finger a little bit to the outside so that the pattern doesn't flip up on you. And don't push real hard. All you need to do is enough that you can see it when you run around it with your scissors. It doesn't matter if your pencil skips like mine just did across the pattern. Okay. When you get that done, set it over on your stack. The next one we're going to do, on yours it should be white. Oh, the beard for mine is blue because I ran out of the white craft foam. Everybody else, I believe, has all white materials on theirs. So there is these two pieces. It's going to be the hat. It would be like the fur fringe of the hat, and then the mustache are going to be white. Okay. So grab your white piece, and we'll put them so that we can use the material well. There, that's easier to see if I put the outlines up. Okay, just have it so that you don't interfere with the others. Put them both on there to begin with, because if you just randomly put one in the middle, you may not have enough room to put your other. So if you'll put what looks like a smile down towards the bottom, then this one fits nicely right up above it. And you'll need to save just a couple little pieces for the eyebrows. They don't have to be very big. So first I'm going to outline the fur fringe for the hat. Again, don't push too hard or it'll kind of flip your pattern up a little bit. And keep your fingers near the edges, and that'll help too. And go ahead and trace out the mustache just above it. So I have finished tracing everything and getting everything cut out. I haven't finished cutting out everything, but I have finished the tracing. I got all of the paper pattern pieces cut out, and on the white foam I've traced the mustache up above the top. On the green you're going to use this pattern, which is really difficult to pick up. This is traced on there. Make sure that's green. That is this piece right here, the holly that goes on his hat. And then this little thing that looks like a clover or something goes on red. You can see that I've got it on here. I put the hat on first and put it over to the edge so that I would have room for the 3 circles and also for this. So it should all fit on there. Don't just set this out in the middle or you won't have enough to work off of. So make sure you put it into a corner. Now, one thing that I found is that all 3 of these circles, as you can see that I've traced them on here, they're all the same size. And the nose needs to be a little bit smaller. So when I go to cut the red out, I'm going to cut one a little bit smaller so that it doesn't look like one big mouth or something here. So far, I have gotten this part cut out, and again, I was careful to not cut inside my lines. I wanted to keep them nice and wide instead of narrow, and cut the face piece out. And on this, you can see on the back side, you can kind of see my lines a little bit, and that's okay. I will just make sure that I have this part sticking to the front. I will go ahead now and cut out the rest of my foam pieces. Now I've got all of my pieces cut out. We'll take a look again at what we want it to look like before we're done. What you will notice is that the red, the hat part, this piece, is what goes on the back. It goes behind the hand, and you can see up maybe 3/4 of an inch from the top of the hand piece. And you may have to cut off the top part of your hand if you have shorter fingers. It may be a little bit too long. So we're going to try this out and see what it looks like first before we go too far with it. So first thing I'm going to do is put this behind here. And again, about 3/4 of an inch, and going to try to kind of center it. And then going to put my hat piece over it. Again, make sure that you're leaving the sides that you did not mark up, the ones that don't have the tracing lines on it, okay? So that piece will go over. You can see that's about similar to what I have here. And then the next piece we're going to put on is the, oh, I got in a hurry there. Let's don't put that on yet. Let's put the face on. And you want the face so that it comes down just a little bit above where your fingers are. Okay, and then we'll try out the hat, the fur trim that goes over there. And then that leaves room for the mustache down here. Do I have it upside down? I do. Okay, it leaves room for the mustache here, and then the other pieces will fit. And you'll want to do this with it laying down. I just held it up for the camera. And I'm going to make sure that all of my pieces will go on there and that I've got everything right side up. I'm going to put my little cheeks on there. And you'll see that there's a little bit of static with the foam, and it kind of moves around. So that is the basic outline of it right there. Let's get that a little closer maybe. You can see I've got it laid out, so I know how the pieces go now and where they should fit. So I'm going to carefully take those, set them back off to the side, and now I'm going to start gluing. I know that I need the glue. Again, I can't emphasize this too much. make sure that your trace lines are on the back. So when you glue, you should be able, or at least on this one, you'll be able to see your trace lines there. I'm not going to put a bunch of glue, but I'm going to put some on there. I've got it about like that. Make sure the hat, when you're looking at it straight on, is pointing the way you want it to. This little piece that sticks out, you're going to want eventually to put the little fluff ball on there. Okay, so that's about where I need it. Then I'm going to lay it down. Just hold steady pressure. Try not to move. Count to 10 or 20. And my next piece that I'm going to put on is the face. I can see my trace marks. A few of them are there, so that's going to be the back. And I'm going to put this, I'm going to lay it down first real quick and make sure that my trim piece is going to cover up everything else. Okay. So mine's going to go on just about like that. I've got it just a little bit above where the fingers end, but you want enough so that when you put the trim on, you can still see a little bit of the red hat. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put some glue pretty much on. I think I'm going to glue the face piece here, and don't go too heavy, but something to that effect. And I'm going to try to center it, and then I'm going to hold it down. Again, count to 10 or 20. Because we're putting more glue and it's a wider surface on this, you're going to need to be careful for a while so that it has a chance to set up. You're not going to want to move it around or do anything crazy with it yet. I'm not sure you'd do anything crazy with these anyway, but just the same. So now my next move is to put this on, and this is going to go right up there, and it leaves a little bit of his hat showing, and it covers up all of the edges of the face that we don't want showing. And try to overlap it a little bit. You don't want it down too far. It won't leave room for his eyes and nose and cheeks and all that. You want just a little bit of the hat sticking up. Okay, I'm going to put glue. Notice my lines are on the back here. And that's where I'm going to put the glue. Don't go crazy with the glue. You don't want squishing out everywhere. I always try to keep a box of tissues close so that I can wipe the glue off my hands when it gets on there. Otherwise you end up with these little stringy looking things hanging all over and they get in the way. Make your craft project not turn out the way you want it to. Okay, get that in about where I want it. And hold pressure, count to 10 or 20. And I'm pushing down pretty hard on this. Okay. And that is where we are at so far. Next, I'm going to put on his mustache. And I want the mustache to come down just to the edge of where the beard starts. Okay, so just down there, right in that area. Again, I've got my trace outlines is the side I'm going to glue so that they aren't sticking up on the pretty part of it. And I'm going to put just a line of glue all the way around it. So it looks about like that. Sorry about that. Something happened on the camera and I couldn't see it anymore. Okay, so make sure that your mustache is right side up. So all the bumps will be sticking up. And hold it in, count to 10 or 20. Now we're going to put the cheeks in, and they will go just above the little dips that we have in the mustache. So they'll go over here, and then the nose will set right in the center. You can see that I made it a little bit smaller. You can raise the cheeks a little bit if you want, not a bad idea. My fat fingers aren't very good at getting hold of these. Remember to cut your nose just a little bit smaller than the cheeks. Looks like I did a pretty good job of not leaving marks on that one. All right, drop him in there. Press it down. This glue, when it dries, should dry clear. I know it shows up white right now, but it should dry clear. So now I'm going to get googly eyes out of here. And the fluff ball. I'm going to put the dots about where I want the eyes, a dot of glue about where I want the eyes. And it doesn't take very much on these. That's what I'm trying. I'm going to try about that much. Don't push down real hard until you get them right where you want them. And then they're going to be a little bit slick and trying to slide, so be careful with it at that point too. Oops, that one went way too high. He looked really unusual. Okay, when I get them where I want them, I'm going to hold them down. That's where we're at so far. Next step, I'm going to put the holly on there. That's this piece right here. It's going to go on this outside edge. See it right here. Again, make sure your trace side is the side that you're gluing. I'm just going to put a little bit of glue kind of towards the center, not going too crazy. And I've got it on about like that. Now I'm going to take the red. Oh, that's how I caused that. I've been bumping this mouse with my finger. And we'll put this right in the center. You can orient it however you're comfortable. Now your glue is probably still pretty wet on the green, so it will slide around a little bit, which means you can still adjust it if you don't like where it went. It looks like my one eye is sliding off of there from holding it up. And that's where we are now. One last piece, and we'll have to glue the ribbon on later after this is dried up, but that's pretty easy to do. It just goes on the back, just loop it together and glue it or hot glue it, and it works out pretty easy that way. So I'm going to put just a little bit of glue right back here, where you'll be able to see the fluff ball over the edge. I put a little more on there because I know that this is fluffy and it's going to soak up the glue a little better. And there is my completed Santa. Again, you can add the ribbon on a little later, and that way you'll have a way to hang it. But right now, I would set this to the side where it doesn't get bumped or moved around, and let the glue dry. One more thing. I always forget something. This time, it is the eyebrows. I didn't put those on, and I don't know, to me they're optional. You may or may not want to put them on. I'm going to go ahead and do that since I've got the parts that I cut out anyway. Make sure you cap your glue off at the end of each project so that it doesn't dry or harden in there. See, I'm going to put the glue just above the eye. So that's where I put the glue, and now I'm going to press the eyebrows right in over top of it. Usually if they're thicker on one side than the other, usually you'll put the thicker side in the middle to where it's kind of like an arrow going out on the edge. Now my fingers are a little clumsy and big on here, so I'm using the eraser of my pencil, not the lead end, because I don't want to mark on it. Now I've got his little eyebrows on there and little jiggly eyes that are still holding up, still sliding around a little bit. Okay, now I think we're done. I don't have any extra parts left this time. Again, cap off the glue on your bottle.